have heard from all the speakers this evening. For those who don't know me, by my accent you can tell I used to live in Bluefield, West Virginia. So I'm a West Virginian too, just like you are. I am indeed deeply honoured to receive this award this evening, and it's most gratifying to know that some of the things we've achieved are considered to have contributed to both the coal industry of West Virginia as well as to our great American coal mining industry. Thank you to the West Virginia Coal Mining Institute, and thank you to the West Virginia Coal Association. I'd also like to thank everyone in this room who's made this award possible, including my family, for all the sacrifices that you've made over the years. May I also pay tribute to my fellow awardees, Charlie, Mike, Rob, Gary, and Keith. It is a great privilege for me to share the podium with you this evening, and congratulations to you all. Thank you also, Jim, for the nice introduction. As you have said, I first ventured underground when I was 8 years old at Cumry Colliery in Scotland. It was designed by my grandfather and father. It had 7 workable seams and coal was mined by 14 hand-filled, retreating longwall faces in 48-inch thick coal. Each double unit face being 300 feet in length and a depth of about 1,280 feet. The coal was delivered under belt conveyors and into 3.5-ton mine cars, with 12 cars per train hauled by 50 horsepower diesel locomotives. The coal winding shaft was 20 feet in diameter and was fitted with 10.5-ton skips. Ventilation was provided by a forcing fan producing 250,000 cubic feet of air per minute. The mine had a capacity of 4,000 tons per day, or 400 tons per hour, with 850 men, and reached a peak production of 750 tons per annum. The skip winder had a massive set of 1,250 horsepower electric motors. And considering the 1940s time frame that I'm talking about, water to cool the motor and switchgear was needed, and it was supplied from a tank in the roof of the skip house. My father, knowing that the early environmentalists would object to the warm water being piped into the local river, decided to cool it in the spray fountain pool at the entrance to the colliery. Not only that, but the pool was stocked with goldfish to show that the water temperature was satisfactory to the numerous visitors who came to this colliery from all over the world. I was fascinated being 8 years old by these goldfish. No one told me that twice a week on night shift, the pond had to be restocked with fresh goldfish. And so I fell in love with coal mining. Leaving school at 17, I began a mining engineering apprenticeship with the British National Coal Board in the northeast of England, where there was a marvellous training programme. We don't have a say, as you know, as to what time period we arrive on this earth, but I am most fortunate to be living through the era that I do, and to have experienced so much in the early days that I will never ever forget. I would like to share a few of these things with you. I was there on a weekend underground, helping to carry out a mine ventilation survey with only 2 of us in the mine, when my battery cap lamp went out, and I worked the shift by the light of my flame safety lamp, just as our ancestors did. So I've got the experience of working in the darkness, and these flame safety lamps give a lot of light after a while. I was there when his favourite pony in the mine underground stable had come to the end of its life, and the horsekeeper had tears running down his cheeks as he fed the pony his lunch that day, supplied by his wife, just before placing the humane killer on the pony's forehead. After that, I certainly had a greater appreciation for ponies in mines. I was there when the colliery safety officer thrust my head into a roof cavity, I should say, to smell the fire damp that the textbooks describe as colourless and odourless. I was there shoveling coal, where the longwall face where I was working had its wooden props removed and replaced with the first individual handset hydraulic props. And the men were unhappy because these new steel hydraulic props were silent, while the old wooden props gave warning creaking sounds when the roof weight came on. I was there in the same longwall several months later when the hydraulic props were removed to the surface for servicing, and the wooden props were reintroduced. The men filed a grievance because they had to saw the wooden props to size again, and they missed their hydraulic props. And I was there when the first longwall frame-type powered roof supports were introduced underground. Each was two vertical 23-ton hydraulic props supporting the roof, mounted in a steel frame with a horizontal ram to advance the support and the face conveyor, the precursor of more stable chock supports leading up to modern two-leg shields that we have today. And so, after doing every job underground and completing my 5-year student apprenticeship and getting my degree, I joined major mining machinery manufacturer Hewwood Limited. It was quite a forward-thinking company. They had their own movie theatre for customers, they had their own film crew, they had all kinds, they printed their own literature. And I was there for quite a while. After 3 years in the northeast of England, I was appointed longwall roof support engineer in the largest coal field in Britain, the Yorkshire coal field, where we had about 35 longwalls equipped with Hewwood supports. In 1968, Hewwood sold a longwall to this country. It was actually Bethlehem Cambria Mine 33 in Evansburg, Pennsylvania. That longwall produced several world records, incidentally, over the years. And I was working in Britain at that time. I was young, single, and cheap. And therefore I was selected and seconded to Hewwood Irwin Company in Irwin, Pennsylvania, to set up the longwall division, as Jim has said. Thelma joined me a few months later, and we were married in Irwin. Judy and Rob arrived soon afterwards, and we were invited to Irwin for 2 years, but in fact we stayed for 11 years. In 1979, I was offered the position of International Sales Director for Hewwood with a seat on the main board, and we returned to England, where I travelled the world and visited all major producing countries, going underground at every one of them. After 2 years, the opportunity again rose for me to return to the United States as President of American Longwall of Abingdon, Virginia. I was the 5th employee in American Longwall, and we had a beautiful plant standing empty at that time. After my arrival, it took us 7 years to grow from 5 employees to 250 employees. And we were the most successful longwall face conveyor manufacturer in the country with a 64% market share. Some of the early longwalls that we had were at quarter 4 and quarter 7 mines in Ohio that some of you are familiar with. We supplied numerous face conveyors. West Virginia, at that time, as it is today, was the top longwall coal producer, and American Longwall supplied conveyors on 9 out of 12 of those longwalls. In 1996, production from West Virginia longwalls was 48 million tons, and American Longwall conveyed 75% of it. Throughout the country, American Longwall conveyors carried more than half of the entire longwall production of 200 million tons per annum for very nearly a decade. We were very proud of some of the achievements we made, and it was done by me surrounding myself with an awesome team. Back to the question of people once again. After American Longwall, I spent a couple of years at Long Air Docks before being appointed president of IMCO in Bluefield. When the assets were sold to DBT, I wondered, what earth am I going to do next with my career? I still wanted to serve the coal industry and felt I had a good few years in the left yet. I'd been writing for Coal Age and Coal Leader. I actually carried out an international longwall census for Coal Age, covering the 10 biggest producing coal countries of the world, and studying the longwalls and the longwall tons per shift on each of these longwalls throughout the world. I've been writing for quite a while, so I quite enjoyed that. So I decided to establish my own coal news newspaper. To my surprise, my friends in the mining machinery industry all agreed to advertise with us and pay the bills. So we were off to a great start. We went to Jackson, Tennessee to see USA Today being printed on their massive modern printing press and chose them as our printer. We had colour on all our pages, which is more than USA does, as you'll see today. Visiting all the mining institutes and coal associations throughout the country, we established a good reputation for telling the truth about coal, and were given all the PowerPoint presentations from the meetings. We converted them to printed articles and selected illustrations for the articles. Thus the speakers gave live presentations to about 50 or 100 people, and we extended that reach to over 16,500. So people were keen to give us their presentations and get their message across to the coal industry. Over 10 years, the 138 issues of Coal News included 4,900 articles, as well as 28,000 photographs. Over 2.5 million words were written. Each 32-page edition of Coal News, unfortunately, weighed 3.5 tons, and it became expensive to ship these around the country and indeed around the world, because the copies went to Canada and Mexico as well. In 2008, we formed the online newsletter Coliseum, and we had very nearly the same advertising family to pay the bills. Today, there are over 200,000 unique visitors who visit Coliseum 8,000 times. That is 8,000 times every single day. The website is updated twice daily, as well as once on weekend days and holidays, including Christmas Day. For the last 17 years, we've had a lot of fun putting Coliseum together and meeting lots of people. But what about the future? These are indeed potentially exciting times for coal once again. Peabody Energy a few months ago said that the efforts of the Trump administration to revitalize coal could add up to 250 million tons to the current annual demand, or a 57% increase. It will be very interesting indeed to see what happens in the future. As I conclude, some of you may be familiar with the saying that the three most important things in life are honesty, kindness, and hard work. All of you in this room have these qualities, and I'm so proud that for a small part of our lives, our paths have come together. I promise you that for the rest of my life, I will continue at every opportunity to promote our great American coal industry and the very fine people in it. Thank you.